After my big tofu test video that I did the other week, I had a lot of tofu to use up, which is very much a non-problem because I love tofu and I decided to put it towards this video. So today we're gonna take a trip around the world in the shape of 5 different sandwiches that have been veganized using tofu. So a few of these recipes are things that I've tried before and others are things that I've been meaning to try, and this seemed like a good excuse to do so. We are going to be traveling from Japan to the US and we are going to make stops along the way in Vietnam, in the UK and in Sweden, unsurprisingly. Let's get started! So we will start our journey in Vietnam with the banh mi. Me and my boyfriend always make these when we have people over and we want to provide something that's easy but kind of impressive, and this one is always a winner. Banh mi, which I believe translates simply into bread, came into being during the French colonial period in Vietnam. It's sort of a hybrid between the classic French baguette and typical Southeast Asian staples like pickled veggies, herbs like coriander, condiments like sriracha, and in our case, soy sauce and ginger pan-seared tofu. So we will start off by making our umami mayo. For this, we will combine some garlic, some mustard, lemon juice, soy sauce, and of course some vegan mayo, and then simply stirring this to combine. Then we will saute a shallot and some garlic before adding our pressed tofu, some fresh ginger, some water and a splash of soy sauce. We'll leave this to reduce and coat the tofu whilst baking our baguettes, which typically takes around 10 minutes. Then it's time to assemble. So spread a layer of the umami mayo, add as many chunks of tofu as you can fit, some sliced cucumber, some coriander, some pickled carrots, and a drizzle of sriracha on top. If you can't be bothered pickling your own carrots, you can also just use slices of gherkins, which also works really well here. Next up, we are making toast skagen. This is an absolute staple for most celebrations in Sweden, which is where I'm from. You're likely to find it in some variety on the buffet table, whether it is Christmas, Easter, or Midsummer. So this is traditionally made with shrimp, and it was created by a chef called Tore Wretman during a sailing competition in 1957, where the crew of the boat upon which Tore was on were in dire need of some encouragement, as there were supposedly no winds to sail upon. Cue his creation of toast skagen. For this one, we will need some seaweed caviar, which, despite the name, is an entirely vegan product that will help us get those flavors of the sea infused. To make the skagenröra, we will crumble a block of tofu into some mayo, adding some finely chopped red onion, some dill, lemon juice, the seaweed caviar, and some salt and pepper. To serve, simply place a generous blob of this on top of a piece of bread that has been toasted in butter, add some more seaweed caviar and dill for garnish, and then right before eating, squeeze a bit of lemon over the whole thing. Next, we are off to Japan and the onigirazu, or sushi sandwich. A fun bit of lore about this sandwich is that it's a relatively new culinary phenomenon. It first appeared in a 1990s comic book series called Cooking Papa, and well, it seems it's sort of just stayed around since then. It definitely bears resemblance to the onigiri as a convenient thing to pick up from a 7-Eleven for a quick lunch or snack, which is basically what I lived off when I visited Japan in 2017. So first up, we will make our katsu tofu, dipping the tofu into some batter, then into some panko breadcrumbs and baking this in the oven for around 30 minutes. To assemble our sushi sandwiches, we need a piece of nori, a block of cooked rice, a sprinkle of salt, some spinach, pickled red cabbage, avocado, a drizzle of sriracha, our katsu tofu, and another block of rice to put on top. Then we will fold this all into a little nori parcel. I find it very therapeutic to make recipes like this that are very hands-on, so it kind of feels like arts and crafts and cooking all combined into one, and the end results were absolutely delicious. We have reached our fourth destination, which is the reuben sandwich. Something that I've never tried before, so I'm not really sure what I can compare it to, but this is something that I've been wanting to try for quite a while. To start, we will marinate our tofu with a mix of soy sauce, olive oil, mustard, smoked paprika, garlic powder, thyme, coriander, black pepper, and steak sauce. I'm not entirely sure what steak sauce actually is, or if there's a good equivalent of it in the UK, but the internet said that you can combine ketchup, Worcester sauce, and molasses, so that's what I did. Next, we will make our Russian dressing, and this is done by combining mayo, ketchup, some sort of savory pickle relish, some horseradish, vinegar, paprika, soy sauce, and garlic powder. This actually made an insane amount of dressing, so if you're trying this recipe, I would probably recommend going half of the ingredients that are listed, unless you want to be eating Russian dressing with every meal for a whole week. Before serving, we will fry some sauerkraut until it's released most of its water. Then placing a piece of vegan cheese on top, cover this with a lid and leave it for about 5 minutes until the cheese is melted. And then it's time to build our sandwich. So adding a layer of the Russian dressing on a piece of bread, followed by the sauerkraut and cheese, the baked tofu, and top it off with another slice of bread with some more dressing on the closing side. Finally, well, we're here in the UK. I have had this recipe bookmarked for quite some time because I absolutely love tartar sauce and I'm always happy for an excuse to have it. So we are making tofu fish finger sandwiches, or just tofu finger sandwiches, I guess. There is something that feels very British about just throwing random things between two slices of bread and calling it a day, thinking particularly of the chipati, but I'm absolutely here for it. For the tartar sauce, we will combine some vegan mayo, some whole grain mustard, lemon juice, capers, and red onion, and then stirring this to combine. Then we will marinate the tofu in some soy sauce and lemon juice, wrap a piece of nori around it, dip this into some batter and breadcrumbs, and then fry these for a couple of minutes on every side. To serve, we will spread a layer of tartar sauce on a piece of bread, add our tofu sticks on top, some pickled red onion and lettuce, and there we have it. So that is everything for today. Let me know if you have tried any of these sandwiches before, or feel free to share your favorite tofu sandwich in the comment section. If you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like. And as always, thank you so much for watching.